The next month and a half is going to be incredibly significant for Leeds United fans. After all, we are not only going to be building up our squad, but also setting out our stall for the season ahead, getting an idea of the way that we'll be playing, where different players are going to fit into that system, and ultimately what's going to happen to Leeds United. So, in this video, I'm going to run through all of the major Leeds United dates that you need to know between now and the end of the transfer window, and ultimately we'll have an idea of what pre-season is going to look like, and I'll give you a little bit of a sort of preview on various matches, but also a little bit more of an idea of what I'll be doing in terms of content surrounding them. So, first of all, now is the 18th of July, or at least I believe that's when I'll be putting this video out off the top of my head. In precisely a week's time, Leeds United will be over in the USA. They'll have travelled to where the World Cup was, and England lost, and I don't know what's happened against France yet, but we'll see and find out what happens there. On the 25th of July, Leeds United have been over in the USA for a couple of days at that point and play their first pre-season friendly of the season against Wrexham. Now, as far as pre-season friendlies go, you tend to have a couple of different categories. You have the category of, this is a very difficult team to play against, they could cause us some problems, that's why we're playing against them, we're getting an idea of challenge and all that kind of stuff. You've got teams that are roughly your standard, because you sort of want to get an idea of how you'll do against teams that you're likely to play against the coming season, which is also very, very valuable, important data collection. And then you've got matches like this, which are against teams from lower divisions that you fully expect to win, that you can use to just test things out and work your way into pre-season. And that's ultimately what I think we've done with picking Wrexham as our first match. 11 PM. I might potentially do a watch along, I'm not entirely decided, but if I do, it'll be a fairly chill one. We'll ultimately work that one out as we go. I'll also do preview, post-match, all the kind of standard stuff, but also keep the transfer stuff going in the background. All of this is with the idea that in the background there's transfer bits and bobs going on. Anyway, 6 days after that, on the 31st of July, Leeds United play against Sunderland. Now, importantly, this is very important, it may be marketed as the 30th, because over in the USA it will be on the 30th, because it's at 30 minutes past midnight on the 31st. So, not really the 31st, but is the 31st. It's a continuation from the 30th. Could be a fairly important one, because this is, Sunderland will be playing in UEFA competition, but are of the sort of standard that we might hope to expect to beat this season, and if we are able to do so, that will be absolutely beautiful. I hope we are able to beat them plenty of times this season. Once in pre-season, twice during the season. Fuck it, we'll have the League Cup and FA Cup as well. That'd be fantastic as well. But that's happening at 30 minutes past midnight. Again, potential watch along, I'm not entirely sure. We'll see how that goes. But just a couple of days after that, a very, very quick turnaround, we have our final match of the USA pre-season tour. And this is why I mentioned the three different categories of matches, because you've got your Wrexham style match, which is your warming up and getting into it. You've got your similar level kind of match against Sunderland, and then we've got Liverpool on the 2nd of August at 8 PM. This is a single day after Yorkshire Day, which I've just realised I forgot to mention. I think there's potential for us to announce a signing on Yorkshire Day, just because I think it'd add up quite nicely, but then again, that might not be the case, because it's quite hard to sort of make reasonable media and comms strategy happen when half of your media team is in a different country on a different continent in a completely different time zone. So that might not happen, but I've got that note down just in case, as a sort of keep an eye on Yorkshire Day. There is potential for something to happen. But finally, we face Liverpool at 8 PM on the 2nd of August. That's one that I don't necessarily know whether I'll be doing anything for it, mainly because 8 PM baby tends to still be awake, so I think a long extended live stream isn't necessarily likely. But we'll see. We'll have a look and judge by what's going on at the time. Then the team return. The returning heroes will come back and fairly quickly return to Elland Road with a match against RB Leipzig. That's happening on the 8th of August at 2 PM. And will be a return to Elland Road whilst we're potentially seeing what it looks like with a stand going up, which I think should be fairly fascinating. A lot of people will point to the Red Bull links as well with it being RB Leipzig, but you can't really the same for Augsburg, which, spoiler warning, is coming up shortly after that. But out of the matches that are happening in this week, this is the one that very few people are going to be paying attention to, because that is quickly followed by the big one. It's very quickly followed by a match against Scum on the 12th of August. That one is happening over in Ireland, I believe at Croke Park, but if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comment section. And it's happening at 7:30 p.m, and it is ultimately going to be billed as the sort of main event of this pre-season. It's the one that everyone's looking towards, because, yeah, sure, Liverpool will provide a challenge. Sunderland will be a little bit of a potential niggle to it, because we might be thinking, well, we could be there, and Sunderland will be thinking, haha, you're not there. But the match against Scum is ultimately going to be the one that everyone is paying a little bit more attention to, and has that little bit more fascination behind it, and I'm kind of looking forward to it. It should have a bit of bite to it. Over in Ireland, I imagine we probably will have more fans, but it's going to be a little bit of a weird one. It'll be genuinely fascinating to see how that one plays out, and it will be akin to Liverpool, a challenge against a side that has invested a shit ton of money in their squad, and ultimately a judge of how our reasonable expenses compared to their just throw money at things approach. And I think we might actually get something out of that, which would be quite nice. Then the final pre-season match is against Augsburg at home at 3 p.m. on the 15th of August, exactly a week before the season starts. Again, it'll be looking out over a partially built West End. They won't have made that much progress on the West End, so I don't know why I'm talking it up so much. But at the end of the day, there'll be a little bit of progress going on with it, and I think it will be absolutely key to get that momentum going into the early stages of the season, with the first match being against Nottingham Forest. Away from home, 3 p.m. kickoff on the 22nd of August. By that point, you've got the vast majority of your squad assembled. Everyone's had as much pre-season as possible, and you're getting a better idea of what your first 11 is going to look like throughout the season. It won't be concrete from that point, because you're always going to get a couple more players in. Last season, if we have a look at our first match, our lineup for that will have been absolutely wild compared to where it ended up. I'll be 1 second, I just need to very quickly check it. So if I have a look at our first lineup of the season, there we go. Perry in goal, that's fine. A back four of Bogle, Goodmanson, Ampadu, and Strauch and Rodon, which kind of makes sense, but you know. Midfield trio of Stack, Ampadu, and Tanaka, which we know adjusted over time. We completely changed formation, never mind like individuals. Nonto, who then proceeded to not play much football. Piru, who then proceeded to play not much football. And Dan James, who then proceeded to play not very much football. Ironically as well, Metcha had come on by the time that we had a penalty, which meant that Joel Piru didn't get to score a goal all season because he wasn't on the pitch when we got a penalty. But just an idea of that is a rough idea of what our squad will look like, what we play against the Forest side in the first sort of week of the season, but it will have potential to evolve from there, especially going into a match against Brentford on the 30th of August, which will be a home tie at 2 p.m. That one is going to happen on a Sunday. It's our first televised match of the season, which there will be many, I imagine, and many matches that will be moved to Sunday because a lot of teams are in Europe this season, which means that there's going to be fixtures being janked about to make sure there's plenty of gaps between appearances for them. And then the big date in the calendar is the 1st of September at 11 p.m. The transfer window slams shut. I will be doing a very, very, very long stream on that day, which should be very, very interesting. And yeah, ultimately, I'm hoping that things go very well throughout the next month and a half, and I absolutely believe they will do. Anyway, I'm going to leave this here. If I find any newsy bits, then this video might get delayed for a day. Who knows? We'll find out. But pop a like on the video, massively appreciated. Subscribe if you haven't yet, become a channel member, all the fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later. Toodaloo, mi amigos.